Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Costello. I'm proud to say that I'm an 8th grade language arts teacher from South Milwaukee. You know something about middle school. That's why you gave me that cheer, right? Last week, I gave my students a test. We had just read a story about a Cherokee man and his family who had taken a stand and refused to give up their land and give up their rights. The very last question on the test read, in what kind of situation would you stand up to someone who was very powerful? Explain your answer. Well, as any educator or parent knows, you better be ready to answer any question you ask your kids or your students. So here's my answer. Number one, when anyone attempts to take away our basic democratic rights, we must stand up to power, speak out, and say no. The conflict before us, the crisis before us, is not about this budget. It is not about our health care or pension. We have been negotiating about them for months, and we've expressed a willingness to continue to. What it is about is a myopic power grab fueled by the ugly forces of ignorance, reaction, greed, and a heavy-handed partisan politics. What this is about is an effort to rob me and other educators and thousands of other public employees of our ability to do our job to the best of our abilities. We will not let Governor Walker take away our right to sit down with our employers and talk to ensure that our schools stay great and that we have the conditions that allow us to be the best teachers we can be for our students. When Governor Walker is more intent on making himself the darling of the ultra-right than doing what is right for the average Wisconsin family, we must stand up to power, speak out, and say no. If this so-called budget repair bill would pass and strip me and many of you of basic on-the-job protections and rights, our abilities to support our children and families would be impaired and threatened. As parents, we must link arm in arm, stand up to power, speak out, and say no. Anytime we see a bully, whether they be on the playground, in the classroom, our community, or in the governor's mansion, we must stand up, speak out, and say no. When a governor tries to bully fellow legislators and his fellow citizens and refuse to sit down and talk about an issue vital to the long-term economic and educational health of Wisconsin, we must stand up to power, speak out, and say no. Mr. Walker, you are acting like a grade school bully on the playground. You would rather try to push people around than use your words. Governor, you need to stop being a bully and use your words. Sit down with all your fellow legislators and talk about a resolution to this crisis. Finally, anytime anyone tries to undermine the multi-generational tradition in Wisconsin of outstanding education, we must be willing to stand up to power, speak out, and say no. Governor Walker taking away collective bargaining from educators and public employees not only hurts teachers and people serving the public, it hurts our students, our communities, and our children. 5 states have already have the history of denying their educators the basic American democratic right to collective bargaining. Those states rank 50th, 49th, 48th, 47th, and 44th in the average of ACT and SAT scores. Wisconsin is number 2, and a close second that to Minnesota, another collective bargaining state. The loss of collective bargaining will not only hurt us, it will hurt all of Wisconsin. We must stand up, speak out, and say no. In closing, there's one more reason why we must be willing to stand up to power and speak out for justice. as teachers, as educators, as parents, and as concerned and caring citizens, there is no better lesson to give our children. It's a lesson not taught with words, but with action. What better gift can we give all of our kids than to show them that when an injustice occurs, whether it impacts us directly, our neighbor next door, or someone far away, we must be willing to stand up to power, speak out, and say no. Tonight, that we will stand up, speak out on the steps of the Capitol. We will stand up and speak out in the rotunda and in the committee rooms. That we will stand up and speak out in the Assembly, in the Senate, and the governor's office. That we will stand up and speak out in our communities. That we will stand up and speak out come the election season. We will stand up and speak out when we get to that ballot box. That is our promise to each other, to our families, to our communities, and to our children. Thank you very much.